Some names just feel ancient, don't they? They carry the weight of history. And long before the headlines, before all the conflict we hear about, there was a name whispered across the savannas of southern Africa. A name that wasn't written in ink, but was built, literally, out of stone. This is the story of Zimbabwe.
You see, the country's name isn't some modern invention. It comes straight from the Shona language, from these words, Zimba za Mabwe, and it means exactly what it sounds like, houses of stones. But this isn't just a poetic title. No, it's a direct link to a powerful, magnificent civilization that once called this place home.
Long before Europeans ever set foot here, this was the site of Great Zimbabwe. And I'm not talking about just a village. This was a sprawling medieval city, a true metropolis. It was the capital of an empire, a hub of trade that connected the heart of Africa with the Indian Ocean. And its most incredible feature? These huge, towering stone walls, built without any mortar. An architectural marvel that's still standing centuries later.
So that connection to such a grand past, it brings up a really deep question for the country today, doesn't it? How does a name that symbolizes ancient power and ingenuity shape the destiny of a modern nation that's known so much struggle?
Well, to even begin to answer that, we have to start with the land itself, a canvas of just breathtaking beauty, which would pretty soon be painted over with the colors of conquest and conflict. I mean, the geography of Zimbabwe is just stunning. You've got this huge central plateau that gives way to these beautiful eastern highlands. And then there's the Zambezi River, which literally thunders over a cliff to create Mosi Oatunya, the smoke that thunders. You and I probably know it as Victoria Falls. But back in the late 19th century, this land of wonder started attracting a very different kind of interest. A man named Cecil Rhodes, a British mining tycoon with huge imperial dreams, showed up with his British South Africa Company. And he wasn't just looking for gold, he was looking for a country.
And the conquest? It happened shockingly fast. It all started with a mining deal in 1888, but that quickly turned into a full-blown occupation. Through wars and politics, the territory was taken over. And by 1930, the Land Apportionment Act made it official. The best, most fertile land was now reserved for a tiny white minority. This one law, it would cast a shadow so long it would define the conflicts for the next 100 years.
So, those seeds of inequality that were planted back in the 19th century, well, they were about to grow into an all-out fight for the nation's soul. The struggle to reclaim the land and its name was long, it was bloody, and the independence that was eventually won came at a really heavy price. So in 1965, the white minority government of what was then called Rhodesia, well, they declared their own independence from Britain. They were trying to stop the wave of majority rule that was sweeping across Africa. And that move, it kicked off a brutal 15-year civil war. It all finally came to an end in 1979 with an agreement in London that paved the way for a brand new nation, Zimbabwe, to be born in 1980. In that moment, the whole world was watching with so much hope. A neighboring leader, Samara Machel, from Mozambique, gave this piece of advice to Zimbabwe's new leader, Robert Mugabe. It was a statement that was both full of promise and a warning. Sadly, that jewel was tarnished, and it happened early on. The Gukurahundi massacres in the 1980s were a brutal way for the new government to consolidate power. In the Matabelandland region, thousands of civilians were killed by a North Korean-trained army unit. It just shattered that initial promise of unity, freedom, and work. As the new millennium rolled in, another crisis hit. A chaotic and often violent land reform program was launched. Now, the goal was to correct a colonial injustice, but it had a devastating side effect. It completely dismantled the country's huge commercial farming sector, and that sent the entire economy into an absolute freefall. And the result of that collapse? Hyperinflation. On a scale that's, well, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. In August of 2008, the annual inflation rate hit this number. Think about it. The government was printing $100 trillion bills that were basically worthless by the time you could even spend them. The Mugabe era, the one that began with all that hope back in 1980, it finally came to an end in 2017. After 37 years, a military coup forced him to resign, opening a new, but still very uncertain chapter in the nation's story.
But here's the thing. A nation is always more than its politics, right? It's more than its economy. And beyond all the headlines of turmoil, there's the enduring soul of Zimbabwe. Its people, their culture, and their just unbelievable resilience.
So who are the people of Zimbabwe? Well, it's this incredibly diverse tapestry.
but it's really dominated by two major ethnic groups. You have the Shona, the descendants of the people who built Great Zimbabwe. They make up the vast majority. And then you have the Ndebele people, who are mainly in the southwest.
And you can literally hear that diversity. While English, Shona, and Ndebele are what you'll hear most often, get this, Zimbabwe has an astonishing 16 official languages. That kind of linguistic richness is just a powerful testament to its deep, deep cultural heritage.
And you can taste that culture, too. The heart and soul of Zimbabwean food is sadza, a simple but essential cornmeal porridge. It's the foundation of almost every meal, and it's often served with rich stews, greens, or grilled meats like the super popular Boerewors sausage.
You know, maybe this national spirit, this ability to regenerate, is captured best by one of Zimbabwe's brilliant modern writers, Violet Bulawayo. In her novel Glory, she writes this: "It's just a stunning way to describe a people who have been torn apart over and over, and yet somehow find a way to grow back, to grow anew." And really, what symbol could be more perfect for this nation than its balancing rocks? I mean, look at them. These ancient formations, carved by thousands of years of wind and rain, stand in this delicate, almost impossible balance. It's the perfect metaphor for a nation trying to balance its heavy, heavy past with all of its hopes for the future.
So from the monumental walls of Great Zimbabwe to these rocks balanced so precariously, the story of this nation is one of both permanence and fragility. And the question that remains is how its people, those starfish who have grown new limbs, will manage to build a future that's truly worthy of such an incredible and heavy legacy.